3 devices, and so now I got to record on this. Anyways, hip hop flip flop. Welcome to the PARAcast. I'm your host, Tomas the Boss Hernandez. Joining you large and well, not really that large. I mean, I have slendered down quite a bit, and I had to get a whole new set of pants. But who's bragging? Anyway, joining me tonight, TSA's favorite pat down / string cheese dispenser. It's Steve Koski.
That's not string cheese.
Whoa. Whoa. I thought that stuff was under court seal.
If you want the melted stuff's in the back. When he closes his eyes, he can still hear the kids chant, "Yo mama's on crack rock." It's Robert Wyatt.
Joke's on you. My mom was dead.
Oh, the best mom joke comeback ever, because it hurts both.
Yes, it does. That is the best thing about your parents being dead, is you can make dead parent jokes and make people feel bad about themselves for joking about your dead parents.
It hurts both parties. The one party feels like the joke. The other one's just like, I wish my mom was on crack rock. That way I could still hug her and tell her, get off the crack rock, mama.
They're like dead baby jokes, but they hurt so much more.
So much more. Oh, gosh. Each one of those. Oh.
You guys are a-holes.
Now let's move on to a much softer joke. What do he and the I70 Killer have in common? Everything. It's Kenny Terry.
You're not supposed to tell people, Tom.
I was
Don't worry, Kenny. There's only like 1,200 people that listen to this show. You're probably fine.
You're
totally fine. I'll never get caught.
Believe me, it's hard enough for people who are into shooting to find this show, let alone the authorities.
Admittedly, if we were talking about some dead people more often, we could be confused with the Ghost Show.
The Ghost Show. That's right. The people that coming back. The things I fell asleep to last night was a thing on how the I70 Killer and the Texas I35 Killer might actually be the same person, which was kind of interesting. I70 Killer would just walk into these. He would case these stores, and then they had a young brunette, teller. He would walk in these weird things, and then get him to go in the back, and then he would just execute them in the back, and then walk out and steal $100. And they never caught the guy. He did it for 5 or 6 times in the course of a month, on I-70. That is some freaking serial killing business. When you're up to that count, that's what was the guy the mob guy, Kenny, who killed 500 people or whatever? What was his name?
Yes, Kenny, because he knows.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, he does.
Yeah.
The Iceman.
Yeah, the Iceman. That guy was professional. This guy got a box of CCI mini mags. It was well, we got to use them. And then they're thinking that he went down to the Texas and I-35 because they had the same kind of thing, same MO, just different, basic, exact same MO except for different 22.
Didn't they believe he was probably a truck driver, Tom?
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Dude, I can feel it.
Package car driver. Those package car drivers, they're murderers.
Murderers.
And they know where y'all live, so
they're at home every night.
Yeah, not me. Gosh, I punch out at 1:55 in the AM on Friday night. Do the old Friday night 14-hour shift, noon to that. I get up there and it's just please let me just fuel this thing up with compressed natural gas and wash the windows and drive it back to Provo. And I call the dispatch guy and he goes, the worst question you want to hear when you're doing the tractor trailer stuff is how much time you got left. And then I'm just it's 10:30 p.m. and I'm well, I am good till 2 a.m. And they go, door 604 is at 50%. Why don't you go park there and wait? So it's the easiest money you'll make because you literally, I walk by the part-time supervisor who's in charge of getting all the trucks loaded. I go, what's your favorite candy? And he goes, Reese's. I go, okay. And so I go in their little convenience store of a break room. Literally, it's a convenience store of a break room. You can look at every single wall is covered with chips or candy or sodas or whatever, and you grab it, and then you do the self-checkout. You self-checkout. I toss it to him, and I go, when that thing's 90%, I want you to walk outside. I want you to go to the tractor door. I want you to knock on the tractor door, and then don't leave till I get up, because I'm going to go to sleep. And it's there's no room in there, so you literally lay down. You lay down in between the driver and the passenger seat. You put your legs on the driver's seat, and you just sit there and you just try to package cars way better because you just find the biggest box in the back and you just you just zonk out. But this one was just like, so I'm just sitting there laying there. The funny thing is Wednesday, we got this automatic fifth wheel, and a fifth wheel is the thing that hooks to the kingpin of the, it's the thing that connects the kingpin and the tractor together. And this automatic
connects the trailer and tractor together.
Sorry. Tractor in the trailer. Yeah. Anyways, so mine wouldn't lock.
Are we not doing phrasing anymore?
No, we're not doing phrasing, and we're also making suggestive.
I was enjoying that.
It's with the male and the female connected.
Connect together, and so anyway, like it wouldn't lock in, and so I almost dropped a trailer, which is like the scariest thing you can do as a new, where like you're pulling away from the trailer, and it's like I'm not dropping this thing off. It's supposed to be. Oh, you slam on the brakes, you go back, then you hook it up. So anyway, I go to the mechanic, and he apparently knows Mr. Kenny Terry and wants him to come work at UPS too, but who knows? So anyways, I go there.
The reason that Tom's pushing this so hard is because internally they said, hey, if you can get some schmuck to sign up, we'll give you a $500 bonus, and we won't tell them about it.
Dude, right now they give me a year closer to retirement. They need mechanics so bad over there. It is literally, like you drive by.
The problem is if Kenny starts working there, he'll be that much closer to death because it'll be Graves again.
Yeah. It's one of those things you drive by. Is like, oh, how many tractors are in the lot? Oh, 36. How many trailers we got sitting there? And you got to understand the size of this building. There's like 170 trailers we cannot use because they are red tagged and unusable. But anyways, so I do all the stuff. The mechanic guy is very nice. I get a bottle of spray grease. I put it underneath the seat, and the seat's like a pneumatic seat. And so I'm sitting there laying there, and I'm like, you know what, my legs are too high. So I hit the button to drop the pneumatic seat, and it literally cuts the top of the thing of grease off like a chicken who's been through a guillotine, and it just starts pouring grease all over the floor. It's a brand new 2023 tractor that's not mine, and I'm like trying to like soak it up with my jacket. It's been a great time, anyways. That's the trucker.
Like an aerosol can of grease going loose.
It's like one of the like a spray like a squeeze spot top spray. So they opened it up and they refill it, fill it up with the grease, and they put the top on. And I was like,
God.
I'll just link the handle right here because me big brain and nothing will happen. And I start dropping it, clack, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it felt like somebody was like peeing in there, and I'm like, what the hell why's my? Oh no, and then I'm like running around and trying to get everything cleaned.
Speaking of someone peeing, I have it felt like someone was peeing story for you.
Well, it's a good thing it's this show because that was good.
That'd be Andy Erickson and Steve Koski. Also for $1,000 on Double Jeopardy. Name the two podcast hosts that talk about peeing on air.
Oh my God! So I've given blood, I don't know, 200 times in my life, but they don't really want my blood. They want my platelets because my blood's a shit type that's common.
Yeah.
So I go give platelets Friday. And I get done at 3, and they're like, "Don't exercise, and make sure you have a good meal." But I mean, they've been telling me this my whole life, and so I just do whatever the hell I want.
The old.
You can't tell me what to do.
You can't tell me what to do.
The old. I'm special. This doesn't affect me.
Exactly.
Therefore, I will do what I want.
Fuck your rules. I'm going to do what I want. So about an hour and 40 minutes later,
it's nice to see that I'm in good company here.
I'm at the gym, and I'm doing my first set of push-ups, and it's like, what is this warm stuff running down my arm?
Oh no!
Like it was just like full-on spraying out of my arm. So I grab my elbow and I go in the bathroom, and it looks like there's a murder scene in there. After 3 or 4 attempts, I got it to stop bleeding and got everything mopped up, and promptly told exactly nobody about it.
Steve won't be going to that Planet Fitness anymore.
Well, we got the name of the show, F Your Rules. No, I used to when I used to get shots in my neck for all the super chronic tightness I used to get these shots in my neck, and they're like, listen, you're gonna get kind of dizzy. It's probably best that you don't drive. And I'm like, got it, sure, go ahead, doc. So I get these shots in my neck, and I'm like sitting there, and they start putting this one in my neck, and I'm like, nah, I'm fine. I got plenty of these shots. And all of a sudden, that wave of, hey, guess what, Tom? This is your brain talking. We can't really balance correctly anymore. We think that you should probably either pass out or seek immediate medical assistance. And then, so you literally sit there, and the doctor goes, okay, I know you're dizzy. You're white as a ghost. We're going to lay down real quick. We're going to take a break. And then you're just like, nah, yeah. All right. All the way down. Anyways, so we talked about me grabbing this Glock 19. I ended up getting a grip plug. This is the Larry Vickers Tango Down grip plug, which is kind of neat because it takes for some firm pressure, and it has a little Glock tool. Yeah, you get
a Glock tool.
A Glock tool. And so it actually does a pretty good job as a mag guide, and since this isn't a USPSA gun, I was just like, all right, I'll try it. And so it works great as a mag gun. But the kind of funny thing is I got another one for my wife, and so I was doing it with Donitza's gun, and I was trying to put a
You got another Glock 19?
Yeah, I sold my Shadow Systems, and I got this.
You got two?
Well, my Donitza's always had one.
Oh, okay.
So I'm literally, it's so convenient that I literally am trying to put on a backplate for her, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go downstairs to the garage, get a punch to do this. And so I'm doing it with the punch, and I'm like, dumbass, you just put in a little Glock tool in there. So it's pretty handy. It's nice. Went to the range on Wednesday with a 1 hour I have available that wasn't slaved UPS time. And I went out there and I shot some groups with the ammo that had the filthy, dirty, nasty coating on it that was giving me a patina. So what I did is I washed the bullets only. Now, I wasn't very clear last week. I washed the bullets only before I loaded them. And then in the Glock 19, there's our top one over here. That's a 20-yard group out of a Glock 19.
Standing or rested?
Rested. I asked them.
That's pretty fancy. What is that, inch and a half?
Yeah, it's about an inch and a half group, and then the same stuff with the bullets that were not cleaned, almost very similar group, and then my doing it with silhouette, slower burning powder, Robert's suggestion, basically kind of gives you about the same group. And then my 124s were a little bit wider than that. But
wait, so the two right groups, what powder was that?
These two groups are
TG.
tight group. 4.6 grains of tight group on a 115 grain bullet.
So is it just the gun or the washing the bullets that helped?
I think it's the gun.
Okay.
So the Shadow Systems is a very good gun, and it gave me the best 124, 147 groups. I like, fantastic.
What generation Glock was it? Is it
the super small
right now,
groups?
right?
Gen
the one
5.
you're holding.
Brand new, made this year, Gen 5 MOS.
Yeah, that new barrel is actually really good.
Yeah, and what I think
Dave Blanton actually he did a test with it, and even he was saying that whatever they did
it would
with those
not be an
marksman
episode
barrels,
of the PARAcast without Robert saying Dave Blanton,
everyone.
on the humble marksman.
Dave Blanton. I'm just saying. I mean, like, unlike you jackasses, I was popular enough to go on the Humble Marksman's podcast and have a conversation with none other than Dave Blanton.
Oh
Did
my
I
God!
Who's listening to this show? Just delete it right now and go to the Dave Blanton.
Just watch
show.
Dave. Just watch Dave's. Yeah, I watched.
And while you're at it, I mean, you should hop on over to Manny Talks, and Andy Erickson has a great podcast, all of which are better than this low-tier production crapshoot.
We have something that none of those will ever have. You know what that is? Me. It's a humble brag. So
that's why they have better viewers.
That's why they have more. They're not shaking them loose. So yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, and I think it has something to do with like how consistent, making millions and millions of guns and CNC machinery, that they can get that to fit in the slide. Because a lot of the smaller companies, they have these stainless barrels, and then like if they fit inside the slide that they're making, it's fine. But the tolerance is probably on the Glock barrel to their slide, and probably the tolerance of their actual so machining and then finishing process on the slide and the barrels and everything like that is probably just shows you what it means when you make 10 million pistols over the course of a few years, how good and consistent you can do that. Because Smith & Wesson's doing it. Like I really have a hard time in the land of the Glock Performance trigger, the Apex trigger, and all that jazz, the Timney, and you get a Glock 19, and then you're just like, oh, and like, how much is that? Like, all put together, you're like $800, $900. And like, how much is the staccato? And they're like $4,000. And I just sit here and I go,
This shadow cost $900.
Hold on a second.
To start.
Let me drop mine. Let me just make sure it's all easy. Don't do it. That gun's actually that's costly. It's costly.
This gun's actually worth money. It's not mine either.
So the last thing I was thinking about this thing is one of those comps, those Radian Ramjet comps, and I was just like, that might be worth the try for fun. Have you seen
What's
those?
that? No.
It's a barrel compensator. Basically, it's a small one-port comp that kind of makes it the size of a Glock 17 link slide.
So, is this like a Roland Special
kind of
thing?
smaller comp, and it is not done on a threaded barrel. So what they actually give you is they give you a barrel, and at the end of their barrel is kind of like a triangle. Not quite a triangle, but a triangle in itself, so that the comp can be placed on and then have its screw put on. So that basically it's a way so you don't have to have a bunch of threads to be screwed on. And then it's also another way so they can get around so they can sell it in every state because it's not being put on a threaded barrel. And so I just figured
gun control advocates. Every time they think they're getting one over on you,
nope,
somebody comes out with something.
3D printing and a will to skirt the law get you a lot of stuff done. Let's talk about some matches. I didn't shoot one. Steve did. Steve.
I shot the IDPA match up in Kaysville. A squad full of like a lot of new shooters, and even the non-new shooters were shooting tiny guns, and a couple of them were compensated. They were a little louder, ROing.
Like bug guns, or
like the little
365 XLs, not
stuff
XLs,
like
but
that.
like the macros.
What's the new
or whatever.
Springfield? What's the little Springfield Hellcat or something like
Hellcat,
that?
yeah.
The Hellcat, yeah.
And other little guns about that same size, tiny 9mm. So it was kind of fun. And we actually had one guy who like rang up really good shots all day with his gun, and some people who couldn't. So that's to be expected. And since this is
the little Hellcat have the comp on it.
Yeah, I think that was the one that was compensated, and it was a little louder. And I don't know that it really gained him any. It's been a long time since I shot compensated and uncompensated guns side by side. I remember noticing some difference, but like not night and day.
Yeah.
That new 365, God, what is that thing? The XL or whatever, the one that has the comp on it.
Spectre or macro or whatever. No, not the macro.
If
the macro is the
if you say
Glock
so,
whatever it is.
I don't know what it is, but Jared had one and let me shoot it, and I was really shocked. I mean that thing, that even for such a small gun,
it tamed it down pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those 9mm
crazy.
Can be pretty whippy.
Yeah, it was. I've never had like a lot of experience with compensated guns, but just being able to see how well that actually did work, well done, Sig. It was pretty cool.
But the funniest thing of the day was the lack of people to like pay attention while you're giving the description of the stage. And there was this one stage where it was kind of complicated.
Guns may or may not be representative of attention span. Gun size.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So there's this one stage where IDPA has the near to far rule, and it was kind of unclear how to do that. And so we went over it like 5 times. You have to shoot these 2 targets last. And sure enough, one of these guys that even had some experience was up there, and he just shoots left to right, shoots them out of order. And he's like, well, how come nobody? And everyone just looked at him like, dude, we all heard it. And so he finally shut up. And we had another one where you started back in the box, but your gun and your first mag was on the barrel. But the first targets were on the just almost on the 180. And I told everyone, I was like, well, if you run up here and grab your gun and turn your gun to load it, you're going to be past the 180. So point your gun like this while you load it, and then shoot the target. Don't do this while you load it, or you'll be past the 180. And third shooter, stop, unload and show clear. And he's like, and then he pulled the exact same thing. He's like, oh yeah, it would have been really interesting if we would have known that this was. I'm like, God damn it, we just had this conversation. And you're a red hat.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no.
Everyone else on the squad heard me go over this. Like, you're on the 180 and you're loading your gun and you're going to shoot almost down the 180. So don't turn the gun to your left while you load it.
Well, it's not like the 180. If you're a red hat, it's just like, hey, remember when you're allowed to point the muzzle uprange? No, never. Yeah, it's exactly like that still. Just right here on the stage. She's like, oh. Well,
that was kind of funny.
Well,
he knew but he knew exactly what he did. He's like, oh yeah, I picked the gun up like this and I loaded it, and I always turn the gun when I load it, so I'm sure I did that. So he knew what happened.
That
so.
was literally the thing
Right.
that happened. Our first match with one Tyrell Kelsey, where me and Robert were literally telling the entire squad, whatever you do when you retreat, do not turn to the right. You have to turn to the left. Turn to the left. If you turn to the right, you're going to sweep everybody. Turn to the left. It's like,
Right.
would you like us to put a stone in your hand so you know which one is your right or your left? First two
Like in Full
shooters.
Metal Jacket. Which side is that, Private?
And the
The
first
left
shooter,
side.
after he turns to the right and realizes he turns to the right, literally puts the gun up in the air and just, shit. Sweeps me and Robert. Tyrell does the same thing. Tyrell at least stuck around. That's good. It's good times. But yeah, that's...
the only time I ever thought I was actually going to die was when that dude did that.
Yeah, was not... Out of all the muzzlings I've had, the scariest one was literally the one when me and Steve were RO in the or SO in the Utah State IDPA match, and then we had the guy who Steve could have saved my life and DQ'd him for handling his gun at one of the non things, but Steve was like, "Hey, it's not a safe area. Go over there. Don't do that." And I was like, "You know what? Steve's not going to DQ this guy. He probably came from Colorado or something. Good on Steve." Literally 30 minutes later, he's falling and swimming with his arms while his fingers on the trigger.
The swimmer, yeah.
And I'm the offside SO, and I'm literally like, okay. All right, that felt weird.
Well, Andrew's going to enjoy that insurance payout.
That was not fun. Yeah.
Oh
Bobo.
my gosh. So yeah, we had two things. We did the new shooter match. We changed the name of it. It's the introduction to USPSA match, but same thing.
That parking lot be banging. I'm driving up, getting on the 215, and I look. I wonder if Robert's doing the new match tonight. That freaking parking lot is slammed full.
Yeah, 22 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like holy cheese, and there were still people that wanted to get in. And I mean, I was lucky because Kenny and Dirk, Mike, Taylor, they all came and helped because it would have been just terrible. But it ran great. Everybody got through. They did really well. Everybody was safe. So that was fantastic. I always set what would be this week's match to basically open up at 9:00 on the Thursday of the match, and so it opens up. And it filled up, obviously, because that's what it does. But just for fun and trivia, how long do you think it took to fill up?
I know the answer to this, so Steve, go ahead.
I know the answer too. So
1 hour.
4 minutes.
So people have to be on their home, like hitting refresh, F5, F5, F5.
It's like eBay with Beanie Babies. It's like, oh my God, someone's selling a Princess Diana Beanie Baby. Give me the credit card.
And so I'm sitting here and like 9:00 rolls around. I'm like, I had told because if you come and help me with the intro match, and you want to shoot next week's match, I will get you in. I can't pay you, but I'll absolutely give you the match. I'll get you into it.
What can I do, Robert? What can I do?
And so 9:00, I'm like, oh cool. And then I look at it, and all of a sudden I have what was it 16 emails, new shooter signed up. I'm like, son of a bitch. It was crazy. But Saturday we had our second Slipsa match, and that was fun. It was really funny because last week it ran so darn efficient, and we got through. We were out of there by about 2:00. This week, 3:30 is when we finally got off the range. Well, when the match officially ended, and I was there till 4:30. But it was just a lot of technical stages. We had one stage that was set up. It was a part-time stage, and it was interesting because the part-time was set at 9.5 seconds. And I think, generally speaking, I think that was probably about 2.5 to 3 seconds too slow or too fast for the stage. It just wasn't tenable. And
so they're supposed to be shootable, like a GM should be able to finish, right?
That's actually
how you set those
how
up.
did they do it for the ProAm in Florida?
They take Bob Vogel out there and they see how long it takes him to shoot it, and that's how they kind of set it.
Oh, they go like, hey,
They take a super good shooter,
you test
and
pilot.
that's the par time. Yep.
Yeah, short of actually like going out and shooting it, because most people, like Charlie Perez has a really good way that he does his walkthroughs, and he talks about it in his book. Dave Blanton had him on the podcast a little bit.
All right, now I'm even getting sick of it. Don't bring him up anymore. Playing this freaking show.
No, in his book, he talked about realistic walkthrough dry fire.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because if you know how fast your shots would be on a target, that's how you'd go through and you go, pew 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 pew, and that time frame. But the problem is when a lot of people look at a part-time stage, they're just like, I'm Ricky Bobby, bah, 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 bah. And it's like, no, it doesn't.
Well, when you air gun something, whenever there's a part-time stage, you always get the timer out, and you get everyone to stand in a line, and you're right. All right, here you go. Beep, and everyone air guns it, and everyone always finishes like 3 seconds early.
Right.
Because you can't. Your air gunning speed, you just lose track of reality.
Right.
So what's the trick to not lose track of reality? What does Dave Blanton?
Well, Dave Blanton. I'm hanging out with Dave Blanton next week. Join us on the Dave Blanton Power Hour. This is getting bad. No, Charlie Perez in his book, that's how he talks about realistic dry fire. So when he starts, he'll go through, and as he's walking the stage to determine the time on it, he'll try to realistically like establish what his actual shots should be. And so if it's a farther shot, the split is going to be different than something up close where you're just hammer on it. And then he gets to the end of the stage, and then he like whaps the timer, and he's like, okay, this is the time that it should be. And then he'll go through and he'll run it again, and be like, okay, is this the same thing based on that? And that's a good way to establish it. But that's at a GM level. And so the question that I have is how do you establish what a proper part-time should be for a stage? Because in my mind, I think basically a high B should be able to finish the stage in the part-time. And then the difference is the ability
that got Kenny's attention.
Well, hear me out. This is what I think. And I'm willing to be wrong, but I'm thinking that a high B, low A should be able to finish the stage, but then the difference will be in how well you can actually accumulate your points between the G's and the rest of everybody.
Kenny's unloaded and showed clear and had a smoke by the time that second part time is going off of.
Yeah, so it's the problem is if a B class guy can clear the stage, you're just gonna have a whole crap ton of people tie on a stage.
You think so?
Oh, I don't know how to say that without being an asshole. B class shooters normally are very good, so if they can clear the stage, good shooters are gonna clear it with all A's and be sitting there with time.
Okay, then what? A high A? Because if you set it to a
high A shooting at their max ability should probably be able to clean the stage
with all points.
Pick up all the points, or
just finish the par.
Yeah, finish the par time.
Well, okay, so then let's say that then a high A should be able to finish the stage.
So this is like, then it becomes a logistical issue, because the one thing, if you're doing this at a major match like an actual pro-am or a national level pro-am, you've already selected the person or people who you're going to have to go through the stage. You've already organized it for them to show up. If you're setting up on Friday night, you're putting down, or Saturday morning, you're putting it down on the ground, then like who's your test pilot? So who should shoot this? And so then it's like, who's around so I can shoot this? Who's the most consistent shooter that you do it? And if your most consistent is the A-class shooter, then what do you go from there? Do you just say, okay, well, like, hey, Robert cleared it in this time, and then Robert,
take off a second.
Yeah, so like, and Robert's a very good, capable carry optic shooter, but there's 2 or 3 guys in the club that are better carry optic shooters, and then there's a bunch of guys who are running open guns and PCC who maybe aren't better shooters, but have a equipment advantage and probably will run it a little bit faster. And so then we just do the USPSA classifiers thing where we go, okay, like Robert's we'll say Robert's in 84%, and so we'll just cut the time by 15% and see where that goes, because I just think there's a big difference from having it ahead of time, known, have somebody come in early days ahead, and then literally I'm trying to figure it out on Saturday morning.
Right.
It's just hard. So like ProAm is totally different in setting part-time than part-time for USPSA. Because one, you want people to finish, one you don't. But looking at the scores, like I'm not going to say that the part-time stage was that far off. Because it looks like most people only had 2 no penalty mics. So one target left needed to be shot pretty much. But I mean, USPSA part-time is super hard because the top-end guys want to finish it. The low-end guys also want to finish it. So the low-end guys don't finish it. They just get pissed off.
Right. And that could be the
There's
case
nothing
too.
wrong with that.
They're super fun, but it's hard because you can't make everybody happy with the stage.
I'm waiting for Kenny to look directly in the mic and say something like, "It sounds like a skill issue."
I didn't want to be a dick.
Oh,
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with not finishing a part-time stage.
That's
fine.
I mean, I literally, my funnest matches that I've ever shot have been down there at Shooting Berry Steel Open, where you're just like, you get to the last array and you get 2 of them down, you're like, gosh dang, that was a good run. Like, I just remember like shooting prod or something like that, where you just, this seems very good. And so I think there's something to do with it. And like, speaking of which, like the same thing is like when you hear somebody like clapping in the next stage over because somebody on the squad cleared one of the pro-am stages, is like, it becomes kind of a very fun thing where like only a handful of people at the match, or Brian Nelson's or Niels Jonason's or something like that, would actually clear the stages.
Yeah. I don't know. I've shot part-time stages that have been good, and I've shot part-time stages that I think could have been a lot better. And I don't like or hate them.
Does it just pop up because shooting part-time stages is just so different? I mean, we've shot plenty of terrible stages before.
No, I think this one just feels like it wasn't as fleshed out as it should have been, and then the interesting problem of you running all over the place was really hard for the ROs to stay up and actually yell at you. Well, for you to hear the beep, and so the likelihood of an overtime shot was up there. And there was a few things, but this is the thing. I remember talking to Alex Mansfield when we were back at, what was it, Area 5 last year, and he said the part-time stage that they had at their match for Area 5, I think they set it up like 3 or 4 times at club matches in various configurations, trying to figure it out. Yeah. Like what is the correct amount of time necessary to sufficiently make this thing work, which tells me that a part-time stage is much more difficult than just slap something on the ground. You really have to put some effort into building it and making it work. And I thought the stage they did at that one was really, really well done. And I like the stage. It was an interesting stage. There's things that I probably would have considered differently on it, but well,
then
different.
Again, like even to your own example, you're on iteration 1 of it.
Yeah. I think every part-time stage I've ever shot at a USPSA match has been stationary shooting. I don't recall one where you're like running up through changing positions and going through a field course. That's like for Pro-Am and for Berry Steel Open. And
yeah, the one we shot at Area 5, you were moving, but it was a backwards L, this way, and so the RO was always on top of you. And so you'd always feel assured that you could hear that shot, because that, 0.3 seconds for the overtime penalty is so punitive that you want to know that you're getting a fair shake at the.
So what happens with, you get an overtime shot penalty, and then what happens?
That's just it.
Do you get an extra hit penalty,
or is it like 5 points taken away because you've had an overtime shot?
I think it's 10 points.
No, so that's actually that's funny. Overtime shot is the only penalty that's not -10. It is -5.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Solid.
That's cool.
Overtime is -5. It's the only one that's not -10.
So you just get the single penalty, and then you score the target as shot.
Yes, as long as you shot an alpha with that shot, it just washes itself out, really.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's nice.
But no, it was a good match. It was a little more technical. It is interesting. I mean, it's starting to feel like some of these longer days just start to wear on you a bit, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to be done. But Slips is probably going to start transitioning into the summertime hours, so we'll start at 8 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. So that'll help out a little bit.
What time are you normally done with the indoor match?
The indoor match usually wraps up right about 10 o'clock.
8 to 10 or 7 to 10?
6:30 to 10.
6:30.
Because I'm sitting here looking at this, and then I'm also looking at the proximity to Slipsa, and I know Slipsa cannot fire a shot after what time?
Whatever sunset is.
Yeah.
Whenever sunset is. Because I was just sitting there thinking, like, I mean, it's almost to the point with how many shooters you're getting that, like, you would almost need to have a change of venue and, like, buy some lights for the back if you could, and almost do like the Tuesday night steal of Rio Salado, you know.
That would be a lot of fun. I don't know how tenable it is, but it would be interesting. Steve Terry's he's actually asked a couple times if we'd come out and do a new shooter at Slipsa, and I think it was a part of their lease that they wanted to try and do it. And I'll do it. I mean, I don't care, but they just have to tell me they want to do it.
Yeah, you might need to be alternating weekends, but you might run into the problem where one of them has 40 people,
right?
The other one has another 22.
And the thing about doing that ultimately is you just got to have enough Kenny Terrys and Mike Pines and Taylors and stuff like that to really make it work, because they've just got to have people there to help them out.
Yep.
And the problem is, you want the right kind of people. And that kind of sounds like I'm being like snooty or something like that. But I don't mean it that way at all. You need to have people there that can run a clock, can make sure to take care of a shooter.
You don't want someone given the order, your 5-minute walkthrough starts now. Here's how I would shoot it. And then
basically you want to pretty much avoid Troy McAnus and NROI.
Skirt the law.
All I'm saying is that they have to run their rule book, and hallowed be thy name and all that sort of stuff. They would toss a guy because they looked at him wrong. But it is what it is. There's a conversation going on right now, since May 1 is when Limited Optics officially kicks off, about potentially doing a classifier match. And that'd be fun, just to go out and just get that out of the way. You say gay, and then you go and you show up and you shoot all these other divisions.
All these other what divisions?
Just single stack and carry optics and production and all these other things. I mean,
I've seen Kenny Terry shoot these other divisions for like 1 week, and then it's just like snap back. Like, we got him to buy a Beretta and shoot that for like 3 weeks in a row, and then he's like, you know what? It's limited for me. Or open. He'll play around with the open. It's hardly ever.
This is one of those situations where the internet's forever, and Kenny Terry is going to get to an age, and he's going to start transitioning over to some division, and they'll be like, hey, do you remember when you said this about this division? Pepperidge Farms remembers.
I'll be dead by then. It's okay.
He ain't living that long. He's here for a good time, not for a long time. Kenny, did you have anything to bring up?
Yeah, tell us the latest of your rifle shooting exploits.
I haven't done any like actual shooting other than with a bow. I have a turkey hunt that starts in 3 weeks, and I haven't archery hunted since I was a kid. And my brother thinks that we're getting too fast when you start archery hunting now. So we decided to archery hunt this year, and I suck with a bow. Not shooting one in 15 years ruins it for you.
I cannot stand turkey by itself, let alone going to go hunt one to kill a turkey. I don't. Well, the other part is too.
Who doesn't like turkey? Are you not American, Tom?
I hate turkey.
I'm not American. Technically, my people existed before this country existed. All right, back when the turkey one, like literally up in Sundance, I can. If I'm in a bad mood, I can hit the accelerator and turn the wheel right and kill about 15 turkeys at once. Yeah. It's not hard. I've had times where I've literally had to shoo them away from me because they are just we just got baby chickens too, and it's
somebody once they smoked a turkey for Thanksgiving, and I hate turkey, but holy crap, that was pretty damn awesome.
I'm not saying that it's terrible food. Like, I'll have a turkey sandwich from Subway like anybody else, and everyone comes up with like a grilled smoked turkey or breaks it down. I'm just saying, like, on the tier list where I'm going like F rank to S rank, and I'm moving the pixel over on the tier list of what they're like turkey's like C or D. Not. What's up in the S rank though is hold on.
Superman?
Dominate defense.
Dominate defense. Yeah, boobs. Dominate defense. Check him out.
This is not your OnlyFans account, Tommy.
Good. That means there'd be at least 3 watchers. Dominate Defense.
Your
Check
mom,
them out.
your sister, and your brother don't count.
And they're all telling me get off the crack rock. Check them out. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off the best belts in the industry. DominateDefense.com. Fantastic product, and also get a shirt while you're there and throw some support. Also, check out Precision Holsters. You get their fast holster. Use promo code PARA10, one of the best holsters you can possibly get for EPA and USPSA competition. And their mag pouches are also one of a kind. Check those out. And then Rune Tactical, PARA10 saves 10% off. Get an extra round in the gun. It's like very... Looking at this, you get like a Glock 19 mag. You can put a +2 Glock base pad on it, and then put a Rune on there, and then that tiny little package, you could get 18 rounds.
You can stuff a lot in that tiny little package, can't you?
You stuff a lot. As long as you're willing to bend it around, you can do anything you want. Check them out. Rune Tactical. What's wrong with us? Rune Tactical. Promo code PARA10. Also, swing by the telegrams and ask us questions. We might be able to give you an answer, Robert.
Chris the Machine Gun Loki. Legislation trying to be passed in Pennsylvania about the number of guns you could purchase in a TBD time period. Also muttering of mandating liability insurance and safe for storage. Safe I have no issue with, as I feel it's a necessity to begin with. But what are your thoughts on these?
Yeah, so I watched a couple videos, and it seems like your governor, Mr. Shapiro, seems hell-bent on getting something done in this climate. Like the safe storage thing, the one thing that really bugs me about safe storage, everyone's like, well, safe storage is what you should have to do, but there's I don't know, my concealed carry gun kind of sits on the nightstand. Like, I don't like the kind of...
I have guns that I've lost around the house. I still don't know where they are.
I bet you we could literally shake the back room like in an earthquake, and then you'd find like, oh, I thought I sold that just in the back there by the reloading press. There's probably an LCP up in that case dispenser on top of that 1050.
Like, no joke, I'm not even gonna bet against that, because there's actually probably a lot of truth to that. I have put guns in like gun boxes and then put those things on shelves, and I've come back like months, years later, like, I didn't know I had a Ruger SR22.
There it is.
Like,
yeah.
Shit.
I mean, it comes down to the what's funny is that the limit of what they're saying that people could buy in a month, what I find is very interesting, because I always find the MasonDixon line of what people consider regular or normal. Like when you hear like, and the man was apprehended with an arsenal. It's like he's got like a 1022 Glock 19, and he's like, and
he had 1,000 rounds.
He had 1,000 rounds of ammo. I was like, bitch, please.
I got that under my bed.
I got 2,000 in the back of the car because I don't want to take them out. Like, give me a break. And so like the idea of like, oh, like, because there's some people like one in a lifetime's too many, and then for other people it's like one a month. Oh, who actually needs more than one gun a month? It's like, give me a break. And so who knows what it would come down to. But hey, stay on your state local, what would you say, your state gun rights organizations, and fund them. Because honestly, like most of the stuff that you're going to be dealing with is probably going to be on the state level, and we're very lucky to live in Utah, which, I mean, the only time you ever hear gun legislation stuff come up is like, oh, I get to carry my gun at work now and leave a loaded AR-15 on the front seat and my employer can't fire me. Like, that's the kind of stuff we get, and or constitutional carry. And if you're in the opposite side, I think your money's best spent with your local gun rights organization.
Yeah, don't give it to the NRA, because they'll just buy Wayne a new suit. Just saying. I mean,
yeah, and most likely
actually correct.
In your local gun rights organization is one that's most likely to sue a state's on their policies. So
yeah, that is actually really true. I mean, like, fundamentally, if you want to give money to any organization, in any fashion, the more local the better, because they're just going to do more for you. And so don't give any money to big national organizations ahead of the people who are closest to you, because they'll certainly have more accountability to you. That's the way that's always been. As far as being able to buy a certain number of guns, I think that's complete BS. I mean, the ATF is actively giving guns away to all the cartels, so why don't we deny their ability to do that?
But Robert,
It seems like a lot of the mass shootings we've had lately have been by people who are legally buying an AR-15, and then 1 or 2, 3 weeks later they go and shoot up something. So whether it's one gun or 5 guns doesn't really seem to matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other part is too. It's like the only way that your logic could work on this is if you just don't allow people to buy guns. Because remember, people are not criminals until they do criminal acts.
Well, it's the hard thing with this.
Coming down on all this stuff is like there's plenty of people who need firearms. That they need to have a firearms. They go through a bad divorce. They have people that are crazy around them. All the stuff, and so what you end up doing is limiting the purchasing power of these people to actually do anything about it. And all this is a reaction to a problem. Even if you ban them all now, it's like get rid of 410 million of these things. And even if you say that no more cells are going through, we would still probably have the problems because it would not be that hard for people to kill somebody else or go in there and steal stuff. And to go do it's just.
Yeah,
it's a problem that can only be solved by solving your own heart.
Mm-hmm. And taking guns away from the government because they're the biggest domestic abusers out there. Moving on, from Alex, Mommy Milkers went. Settle a range dispute from yesterday. What's the safest way to thaw breast milk? Moving on.
Don't freeze it. Use it straight out of the breast.
Well, I'm just. My thought was always turn off the air conditioning.
In your armpit.
What? Or get her out of the freezer. Either one.
Yeah, I got nothing, and that's literally what we're going to end this show on. I have no idea.
I think he might be disputing with his wife on which is the safest way to unfreeze it with his new baby girl. So when you have the other part is too is like when you're a dad and like mom's away, right? Like you got like your new baby and then like mom's like having a, she's going out with her friends. She's having a sanity day, so she doesn't drive you and the baby into a lake. And then like you're sitting there home alone and you're just like, oh, I got like, there's breast milk in the freezer. And then you're like, okay, so if I do this wrong and the baby's sick, I will only have to hear about it for the next 60 years. So what is the safest way to thaw?
I mean, clearly she should have left you with written instructions before she left the house.
But then you'll get what's the safest way to thaw breast milk? If it's frozen in the freezer.
www.google.com.
Ask ChatGPT.
Ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT. Don eats a GPT over here says you just put it preemptively in the refrigerator to thaw it slowly. But that would require forethought.
Yes.
And the single fact that Alex is actually asking on a shooting podcast question and answer session means that the forethought was not taken.
Hey, you can only go where your friends are for good.
It's too late. This answer was only going to be used in divorce court.
It's only good. Well, and the other part is too is like if you're waiting for us to give you a prompt reply on what you should do, the baby's starved. It's already gone. You should think about a lawyer.
I hope you fed that baby some bacon to keep it alive.
Or Donnie says warm water, but the fridge seems to be the most logical. And Steve, as a refrigeration specialist, you should have came up with this first. Like, listen, I've gone to storage units that have 17,000 gallons of breast milk, thawing, ready to go.
No. Cow's milk, maybe.
Moo moo.
All right, I actually have a question for you. So I was talking with some people this week. If you're the range master in USPSA, right, and that's your job, so who does the range master control once the match starts?
The range officers.
The range officers.
Match staff, sort of. I mean the
match staff.
The match, yeah.
Okay.
Not the match director.
Match director controls all the shooters in the stages, correct?
The match director once
match
first shots are
match director
fired,
doesn't do
match
anything.
director is shaking hands and kissing babies.
Okay.
And
Right, and he's in
not
charge
breast
of
milk.
prizes and crap like that, but not the actual match, right?
That's correct. And so if you have a range master, and there's a CRO and the CRO is not setting the steel correctly, or they're not reading the written stage brief, what's the proper course of action?
And the range master knows about it. Talk
The
to the
range master
CRO and tell him to get his act together, right?
Okay, that seems fair, right? Okay,
I think we should fire volunteers.
Ideally, what the range master should do would be to fire them or file an incident report.
Yeah.
Well,
that
I mean,
seems
if
legit, right?
I mean, if they can't file an incident report, what? How bad was this situation?
I don't know. I'm just curious. It was something that we were talking about, and it really came down to the idea that, if you were in a situation and the range master got mad enough at you that he would file an incident report against you instead of actually coming and talking to you about solving a problem on the stage.
That's a bitch move.
Or is that
that's the worst.
Yeah.
Well, that's like getting the. So this is some inside UPS. During Christmas, it's very stressful and everyone kind of has a bad time, and we try to keep it loose. And so
Sure.
one of the drivers had a roll of duct tape and a Sharpie. And you can do a lot with a roll of duct tape and a Sharpie, including writing the word Satan on it and then gently putting it on one of the on-road supervisor's backs so that he walked around literally with the word Satan like he was playing with the LA Lakers. Okay. So, at number 8, guard Satan. So anyways, there's a newer, freshly minted supervisor who nothing happened to the supervisor, but she didn't like the way that other supervisors were being disrespected because she's not used to the guy bro culture and everyone calming down. And so then she filed a suit against the person who wrote the Satan on it without ever saying anything. So
No,
this
like
is
a suit, like a lawsuit.
like a call up HR. I feel threatened. This is a
she
hostile.
called HR.
Yeah.
And started an incident report.
The incident report without ever being like, I don't think that's right, or like without even talking to the supervisor or the guy like, no, it's fine. We're just joking around. We're having a good
It's just
time.
a third party.
Just a third party getting it on it. But yeah, like this is. So someone filed an incident report without talking to the CRO about what his stage was like.
It sure sounds like that. Yeah.
Solid gold.
I'm not saying.
Is this a local RM?
No comment.
All right.
No comment. I'm just saying that if it happened, and if everything is true, no matter what the RM said, it seems to me like the RM shouldn't be an RM, because at the end of the day, the RM failed as a leader, and the RM during the match is the leader of the people of all the staff in his section. And if that's the case, he should have gone and talked to his CRO and said, hey, this needs to be fixed. And if the CRO fixed it, well, then great. But if he didn't, then you just remove him. But if you never go talk to him, how can you actually go and solve the problem? No. You got to go and be a bitch and call up Daddy McAnus and say, hey, this guy's being bad. You need to come smack him. I'm just curious. I mean, that may have happened. I don't know. But anyway.
Wow, it sounds like we have most of our problems are interpersonal problems.
That would never happen.
Never.
Because we are a holistic community and we love each other.
Does anybody remember Brian Gilmore?
Yes.
Can you imagine Brian just hauling off and writing an incident report up for someone like that? No, because Brian knew how to make people happy and how to keep people on his side, and and how to make people feel good about themselves and want to come back and want to work hard.
Want to do their best to be on the side of it's kind of one of those things. It's like we literally have all sets of personalities on this podcast. It's like one of the things that's like when Robert tells you something, you're kind of like, all right, Robert's probably right, but it's probably could have been phrased. It could have been phrased 36% better.
Okay. So,
But hold on. But Kenny Terry comes and tells you, he's like, "Nah, you probably shouldn't do that because it's like this, and that's not good." And then if you ask what Kenny will not give you the salt, and then you can ask him a little bit, and then he can give you he'll give you the salt on it too if you want. But generally, he's so well respected and so nice, you'll just do it. And Steve will be like, because this is the way. Well, old Steve would be like, "This is the way it's gonna get done. This is why we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it this way." And you'd be like, "Okay. We're going to make it, everything's fair, awesome, this is how we're going to do it." And all I do, all the time, mostly with other people, like at work, is I just go in there and I'm like the grease on the pan. I'm just like, "Listen, I think what was being said was this. And I think we could kind of get together and kind of like see all this up." So it's
So Lex and I, we go to church together, and I've come to realize that he sits next to me because if I ever say anything, he gets really uncomfortable, as does the rest of the people in the class. And then Lex has to do this. I think what Rob meant to say was...
Rob normally doesn't use 4-letter words at work. What he meant to say was darn and golly.
I don't think he meant that you specifically should get your act together. I think what he meant is, as a people,
Exactly.
as a set of people, we should get our acts together. Not you specifically. I know he used your name. But like, you made a comment, so he used your name to reflect everybody else. And I think that's what he meant.
He says, just remember, whenever Robert's speaking, about 80% of it is just there to get a reaction.
Correct. That's what
they don't call him the king of trolls for nothing.
That's like what I say. Listen.
Factually correct.
I can't stop myself. I literally can't stop myself, and you know what? I won't. I won't start stopping. Is when I think of something that's funny to be said, I just it has to be said now. It has to be said. What is this? Not really tone appropriate for the moment and how serious things are. Or we're in the middle of a safety meeting and my boss goes, "My boss is here. Do not say anything." And we're like, our number one accident is getting hit while parked, and I go, "That's the best kind." They're hitting us. We're not hitting them. What else could you want?
It's a win. Everybody wins in that
But
situation.
they see that as an accident. It's just like, "Hey, what do you want from us?" They're hitting us. It's not like we're big and brown. It's not like we got reflective tape all over. Well, do we have one more question?
We actually...
From Jeff W.
Yeah, he says, "Hi there, new listener here. Been catching up on all the pods I can. Most enjoyable shooting podcast yet." He obviously hasn't met Dave Blanton.
Listen, Dave Blanton's not this podcast. Dave Blanton puts a lot of effort in, but he's not. This podcast is pure solid comedy gold.
Because we have Tom Nelson. When a funny thought comes in his mind, it comes right out of his mouth.
We have Koski telling us about taking blood and being like, "F your rules. I'll do what I want. Push-ups."
I'll spray blood wherever I damn well feel like it.
He says, "Who does the intro song and where can I get all the episode? I checked a few platforms and can't really find the old ones. I'm just starting the second season of IDPA, and believe it or not, you guys are kind of motivational." Does he really mean us?
Yikes.
J Boy by Phoenix. The album is Te Amo, one of my favorite albums. Also, the new album is pretty good, Alpha Zulu. Let's see, what else? Where could we get all the other episodes? Does iTunes let you scroll all the way down?
They don't, not anymore. I think you can get them on. If you go to Spotify, it'll pull through. I think it'll pull through all of them, but iTunes will only go back to any number, a whole number of episodes.
We on 360? Is today 360?
360.
360.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, you believe that?
Yes, it feels like it's been 360 episodes. Yes, I totally believe it.
This is all you've done for the past, what?
2008, 15 years.
Jeez,
I literally just look at the clock and I'm just like, "God, when's this podcast going to be over?" When I'm sitting here recording with you guys, it feels like 460.
I feel like that whenever I shoot with you. Oh, never mind.
IDPA. I mean, the one thing is going back and doing IDPA, your second season of IDPA. That's fantastic. And honestly,
100%.
Whatever the best club is next to you, that's what you shoot, because you'll have an absolutely great time. And it's hard to say this, but IDPA as probably one of the most forward-looking rule sets that is out there. Even though the idea of compensated pistols in a bunch of divisions doesn't sound absolutely fantastic to me, at least the shooting is not set up in a position where those could be seriously taken advantage of. But it's a good place to wrangle out that equipment.
Ironically, IDPA more than USPSA would benefit from like all part-time stages. That's the most defensive thing you're ever going to get into.
It could possibly be set down. Ooh, how would you do that on Time Plus? How would you add points down for not completing?
Oh yeah, that's a
So
good question.
part-time, IDPA had part-time for a few years, and then they dropped it.
Do you know why?
I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But it was around.
The most hurtful thing, like there's like hurtful things of like seeing like a USPSA shooter get disqualified, and you're just like, oh shit, dude, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry you were retreating backwards and torched around within 3 feet of the target. Like, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry you were running by and got the front sight caught in the snow blind and torched around. I'm sorry you turned 180 and sent one over the berm. I'm sorry you did all it. Like, that sucks. What's more hurtful is when you go to a stage and you literally have, it's my second match and I'm here with my friends and I got this ammo, and the par time stage goes off and they get 6 targets down, and then the timer ends and they go like, unload and show clear. Then they unload and show clear. You're like, it's a good effort. I would imagine that part-time and newer shooters go together like let's see, what's a good way to go in, like a duck fat and liverwurst. Like it's not,
you know,
conducive
Tommy,
to go together.
One of the things I try and tell people at the new shooter match, and then even when we do our orientation portion, like for the new shooters that come to the range, is I've gotten in the habit of telling people, like, if you roll up and you're shooting at steel, if you go to slide lock, leave. And I always tell them that, just leave, because like we're guys, and this is what I was telling them, is like we're guys, you know, and guys, the ego starts creeping up, and you're like, by gosh, I'm going to make that steel go down, and eventually you've gone through every magazine on your belt trying to take a piece of steel down, and you can't finish the stage, and that's hard because they're new shooters and they want to shoot everything.
If you suck and it's a non-par time stage, you at least get to shoot all the targets.
That's true.
It might take you 95 seconds, but
could take you 58 seconds. Kenny Terry just did it in 11. But on the par time stages, we are literally giving you the shepherd's hook and telling you to get the F off the stage. Like,
yeah, I bet you're right, Tom. I bet that's why. It probably hurt too many people's feels.
Oh, man. And I can imagine just a new shooter like, hey, it's going to be a barrel start. You're going to start sitting down, and you got, you know, tactical priority, and back in the day in tactical sequence, and here we're going to drop a par time on you. Because the one thing about...
What's the difference between tactical priority and sequence?
Priorities near to far, or slicing the pie sequence was the 1-1-2-1-1.
Oh.
Remember that?
Right. I remember that, yeah. Okay.
And so, like, you would sit there and you go, like, you have all these things. Because the one thing about IDPA stages, because they are so short, when people are fast, people are effing fast. They get through them clean. Go watch some old 2016 Bob Vogel IDPA match videos, and you're like, oh, Bob did that in 8 seconds. New shooter, like sharpshooter level, like, feel free to try to get that done in 8 seconds. And so if you start setting par times on that, it would be, I think there would be guys that would be so far ahead, and then I think the stretch would be pretty crazy. But it would be a fun idea to sit there and go through and try it.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's a show.
All 360 of them.
We have to name this show either the Part-Time Show or Dave Blanton.
I literally named it Steve Says F Your Rules. That's the name of the show. The first banger that comes...
The Dave Blanton Power Hour, but I mean...
Blanton Power Hour.
I'm not... He's got enough. Whatever. He can come on next week and shill his quality YouTube channel. Anyways, for Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, Kenny Terry, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the sea of life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good night, everybody.
Toot toot.